Okay, so I'm going to scroll into week 2, and remember what you're seeing is my view. Your view is going to look different just because in this course, as I said in the week 0, is set up to kind of enforce good habits by making you work through all the items in sequence so you can't bounce around. Now, that doesn't mean you can't try, but in general, it's good to move through them in sequence. So the video you're watching is right here. And then this is going to cover for this day on Monday, the 3 items that you need to complete. And this is where we move into a standard week where a Monday and a Thursday due date each have multiple items. So there's a lecture, a hands-on, and a current topic. All right, so let's get into what you need to do for the lecture. I've found some new content this semester to cover some of the important parts of we're clicking into here. And so for this item, you need to watch 4 videos. And I have a link here to what's called a playlist. Okay, so a playlist, if you click onto there, you'll see that there are 4 videos. Okay, they all say part 2, but then they have subheadings as far as what they're talking about, internet, www, and the internet. Really important to understand the difference. HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, just an introduction to those. These are really short. So what do you need to do? What you need to do is watch each of them, and then you're going to create a new file. Just very much like we did for last week about the introduction of this course, and it'll be called Week 2 Markdown, and you'll put it in your private repo in the lecture directory. And then you use headings 1 for each of the videos. Again, there's 4, so yeah, I should say 4H1, and then within there you'll have outline of just the major topics covered. Okay, so what I want to do in this video though is just give you that experience again. So this will probably be the last time I actually walk through how to do this, because I hope by the point you finish this, you're ready to do this. So because these are lectures, these are in the private repo, and again, in the instruction I show you, or I give you that where to create them, we go into lectures. Okay, so in this case, we're going to create a new file. Okay, because we're in lectures. This will be called week 2.markdown, right? And this is where, right, your major headings, if you remember, by doing, hopefully that markdown helped you, that assignment we did, right? So this would be a major, so each video, right? And then underneath there then would be the topics covered. Again, it's fine. You don't have to do a lot of detail, but again, what I look for is did you watch the whole file in first video, and then you don't have to put a space, but you can. Okay, so this would be video 2, and so on. Okay, so just like before, once you make all the changes, and you can save along the way, I recommend, if you're one of those who has little internet sometimes is a little iffy, meaning it can drop sometimes, definitely the more often you should save this. Okay, now I haven't taken all the notes, I've just given you an example here. But now, again, like before, right, now that we've gotten into this file, copy that in here, then you'll have a submit. Again, this is the instructor view. For the student view, you should see a submit assignment, and then you'll submit a URL. Okay, so I really enjoyed this series. I thought it was helpful. It was some of the better content I found for an overview of some topics that I find really important for this major. Okay, so now we have our hands-on and our Stack Overflow. So our hands-on is really in a topic that you use all the time, but most people just don't think about it. And it's the way the conversation that happens. Seems like my browser's having a little bit of a challenge this morning. One thing I'm going to do is I happen to be hardwired, so I'm actually going to turn it off. There we go. I guess I could say there, just having done that, one thing is if you're using Wi-Fi and you're having a little bit of speed issues, if there's any way possible for you to plug hardwired, which is what I am connected right now, it's better to do that. Okay, so for this assignment, this is a hands-on assignment. Okay, so the idea is I want you to learn a little about this conversation that happens between the client, which is your browser, and the server. And this is a protocol called HTTP, that hypertext transfer protocol that is used to handle from a machine language what happens there. So for you to get an idea about what this would feel like, I want you to learn or get introduced to something if you don't already know, which I suspect you won't, called the Chrome DevTools. So obviously to do this, you need to be in Chrome. Although Firefox and Safari do have similar things, I just find, and you'll notice, the more you get into this, you'll notice a lot of developers just standard use Chrome DevTools, the developer tools, to do some of the things I'm about to show you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a new tab. Now I'm actually going to pull this tab out so that only this tab is showing, and you'll see why in a minute. And then I'm going to go to like Fresno City College, and you're going to pick two sites. Okay, it's two similar sites. Like I might pick Fresno City College, and I'll show you in a minute a different one I'll pick. But on any website, you can do the following. You can right click and you can hit inspect. And inspect is great, okay? And for varying reasons, when you first come in here, this can look a little overwhelming because there's so much going on. Part of the up here is like you can show it at different devices. What we actually can talk about simulates the idea of a viewport. So I could say, well, what does it look like on an iPad? And then I could also regulate the speed and see what it looks like there. And so this gives you the resolution that it's looking for. I could also look at it at 100% and so on. So I could play with the way I'm looking at it. This is actually what created this website from first the HTML. Again, you'll learn this in the coming weeks, so it's not that you have to know it here. And this is great. I'll tell you when we come in, and I'm going to hit, let me slow down and tell you what I'm doing here. Let's say I click on here and I inspect that. It actually takes me to the place in the code that represents that. It's a div, it's got a span, and it even tells me what styles are associated with that div element, or that HTML element, or in this case, a div. Okay. So again, this is stuff you're going to learn so you don't get any experience here. The hands-on part of this is really kind of looking at the network. There's also multiple ways you could look at this, because one of the things I'm going to have you do is actually look at how long this takes to load. So like right now, and you'll need to do this, and I'm going to do a refresh real quick. And what this does is it makes that round trip between the client, which is my browser, the server, and it brings back all of the things that this web page needs from and these extensions mean something, right? It's important to understand over time. When you see a .png, that means a graphics file. .jpeg is also, it's a different kind, typically a photo, something you'll learn about. CSS, in this case, is a CSS file. We have another CSS. It's got multiple CSS. It's actually got some jQuery, something that I really wish we didn't have, but for various reasons we do for our site. It's something that's kind of going out of style a little bit. So anyway, you can look at this and you can see 889 requests. Look at this. Finished. You can see how fast it finished, which is 1.27 seconds. Look at how many resources it gave, right? So what you're going to end up doing is comparing, right? In your write-up, first I want you to pick two sites. So let's say I picked, let's say Clovis Community. Actually, maybe this is not the best one because I happen to know those two are built on the same one. How about Canvas. How about Saracosa site itself? So I could do Saracosa Community College. Okay. Questa, sorry. So I'm going to come down here. Let's see their site. Look at this. All the different. Now, by the way, did you know that your Google search? Oh, why is it in Spanish? That's interesting. Okay, so let's try this again. Community College. There we go. Questa's home page. So now let's do the same thing on their site. Okay. And go back into network. And remember, in order to see that, you have to hit refresh. So now we can see 81. Oh, look, it actually finished a little slower. And that can often happen on the first load of a site because what it does is something called caching. So it caches some of them. So I want you to just kind of study the two. And again, what we're looking at in this case is the network. You could also look at performance if you wanted to. We're going to teach you about sources. You're going to look at elements in this class, but network is a good place to start because you just learn a lot by first looking, and people are often amazed. Students are also often amazed when I show them how many files actually got delivered to their computer when they requested this URL. Okay, so what you're going to end up doing is doing a print screen. Now, what you could do here, I'm going to show you this. If you wanted to have it on one screen, you could do two print screens. And again, you now know how to upload that into your GitHub and embed it. So I'm just going to show you one of the things you could do here. I'll minimize this. And all I'm doing here is I'm putting these things on the page together, right? So I can do one print screen in versus two, but again, it's really up to you, however you want to do it. Like I might want to do this a little more just to show the two. And again, talk about kind of why you chose the two that you did, what you saw was different between them, and any other thing you observed or were surprised about in doing this assignment. And now let me bring back, see, you always have to remember how many you have open when you're looking at Chrome, because I have multiples open. Here we go. Did I close it? I may have closed it. Okay, well, I can always bring it back here. That's the great thing. All right, so now let's come down here. So in your reply, again, you know how to upload these into your GitHub, right? So in your public repo, you've ended up creating an images directory, right? And so then you can name it whatever you want. And I've shown you how to embed these into your discussion, okay? All right, so now for the last item for this first full week of our course is a really good topic that I find students enjoy because they often want to know what it's like to be in this profession or hear from professionals, which I hope you do have some experience, but this at least gives you a survey. So every year, Stack Overflow, which if you have not been on Stack Overflow, trust me, you will be at some point, does a survey. And so this is the 2020 survey. This talks about the methodologies. You can read the overview if you want. What I want you to do, and here's some key results, right? Python second year. From the second year, it fell a little bit. Talks about DevOps. And you're going to get introduced to some of these terms as we move through the course. So these are some of respondents' reported members online, 40% whether they were in the developer community. 15. Okay, so you can look at this overview and you can also drill down into the geographic, their roles, their experience, their education, their demographics. So I want you to, in this case, right, review the survey and find something that piques your interest, right? In your reply, tell us what you learned and why you selected the items. And each student needs to have a different, because there's so much content in here. So each one of you covering a different part of the survey really helps us all kind of look at it. And in this case, remember, hands-on don't require replies, but current topics do. So you write 150 words and you do 2 substitute replies to your fellow student post. Okay, so you don't have to do any linking or anything like that here. You're just reviewing the survey, finding something interesting, tell us about that item, why you selected it, and then again, choose. In order for you to choose something different, you just have to briefly look at what students have posted before, which should be pretty easy, because you could actually start with your replies if you wanted to. Might be a good way to do that. Anyway, that's your week 2 week 2 instruction to help you get through the first item in our week 2. Hope this helped. Talk to you later.